friends, families, constituents lose their jobs. We saw trillions of dollars of wealth just vanish because we had a great recession. You know, consequently, usually the bigger the recession you have in this country, the bigger the recovery. Where's the recovery? But I want to tell you something. When that 2008 financial crisis happened, it caught us all by surprise. We didn't see it coming. And so, ugly crisis legislation emerged from that. I want to ask you a question. What if your congressman, your senator, your president saw that financial crash coming, knew it was going to happen, knew basically when it was going to happen, why it was going to happen, but more importantly, what if your representative in Congress, your president, knew what needed to be done to prevent it from happening and had the time to do so, but decided not to because it just wasn't good politics? What would you think about that? You wouldn't like it? That's where we are right now. We have the most predictable, most preventable economic crisis in our history, and what are we doing? We're playing politics. We have a leadership deficit in Washington right now. We have a debt crisis coming. We know that government cannot keep spending money we don't have. And yet, we see what we're doing to our children and our grandchildren. We know, without a shred of doubt, we're giving them a lower standard of living, less prosperity, less opportunities. We're living at their expense right now. And we know doing it this way is hurting our economy today. It's costing us jobs now. It's telling entrepreneurs and businesses, don't invest, don't take risks, because gosh only knows what government's going to do to you next. And so we don't have a leadership deficit in the House. And I'll tell you why. Because the House of Representatives is taking this moment seriously. And it's really because America sent people like Mr. Mulvaney, like Mr. Ribble, sent us 87 freshmen to come to Congress who came not for a career but for a cause, and the cause of liberty and freedom and getting America back. Like Mick Mulvaney and Reed Ribble on the Budget Committee is a breath of fresh air. So in the House, we stepped forward. We put out a plan. We put out a budget to get this situation under control. We did 4 things. Number 1, we cut spending. $6.2 trillion of spending. We just think it's this novel idea that we ought to get government to live within its means, and that we should give our children a debt-free nation, and we literally put into place a plan that literally pays off our national debt. Number 2, like in the mid-1990s, we had great successful welfare reform, but we only reformed one of the several welfare programs in the federal government. We need to finish reforming our welfare system. So we want to have a welfare system that is geared not toward keeping people on welfare, but getting them back on their feet in the lives of self-sufficiency. If we go down this path, or this tipping point of having more takers than makers in America, then we will become a European cradle-to-grave social welfare state. Whatever that is not the American idea. Third thing we do, we fulfill the mission of health and retirement security. Medicare is going broke. It's going bankrupt. It has to be saved. And so we have this novel idea that if you've already retired, or if you're about to retire, you're above 55 years old, you've already organized your life around this promise government made to you. And we think government should keep that promise. So we make sure that this system stays intact for those people, but in order to do that, you've got to change it and fix it for my generation, those of us 54 and below. And the way in which we propose to do that is to have a system that works like the one we have in Congress, like federal employees have. It's a system that says you get to choose among these benefits Medicare offers you, and then Medicare subsidizes it. More if you're poor, more if you're sick, more if you're middle income, not as much if you're wealthy. Doing this, saving it from bankruptcy for the next generation, preserves the program for the current generation. There is an alternative. The alternative is bankruptcy. The alternative is the program collapses. The alternative is Obamacare. You have to remember, dirty little secret. The President's new health care law takes $500 billion from Medicare to spend on Obamacare. How many times have you ever told your congressman at a town hall meeting, or talked around the coffee table, or at the Greasy Spoon restaurant that says, I wish they would stop raiding Social Security? Well, guess what? They just started that with Medicare now. And what's worse is they put a new board of 15 unelected bureaucrats in charge of price controlling and rationing Medicare to current seniors. So they raid it, they ration it, and then they don't even try to save it. We save the program, we end the raid, and we stop the ration. We think that's the better way to go. Fourth thing we do is grow the economy. Now here's the difference. Washington doesn't create jobs. The private sector creates jobs. Entrepreneurs create jobs. People create jobs. And when you have so much government activism, so much government regulating, and so much government spending, you don't know what's going to happen next. There is so much government-inspired uncertainty in our economy that is putting a chilling effect on job creation. So pay off the debt. Keep our tax rates low and stable and predictable. Stop picking winners and losers in Washington through the regulatory system, and get the system under control so people can flourish. Here's what it all comes down to. The way in which we address this debt crisis, how we handle this going in, will determine what kind of country we are coming out of it. And so let's just know that we are in this moment in America. It's a very precarious moment in America. I see it as a great opportunity in America. And it's a moment where we can decide, do we believe in those founding principles that made us so great, or are we going to put those aside and go with a different plan? A social democracy, European kind of a system. What's so unique about America is not just a country, it's not just a landmass, it's not Maine to California, Wisconsin to Florida, it's an idea. And the idea of America is that our rights come from God and nature. They come before government. It's the only country founded as such. And so our rights are not given to us from government. Our rights are ours naturally, given to us by God. And so, knowing this, applying these principles, liberty, freedom, self-determination, government by consent of the governed, applying those principles to the problems of the today renews America, keeps us exceptional. At the end of the day, the way in which we address these fundamental problems in America will determine, A, are we going to keep ourselves as that opportunity society with a safety net, that society that is characterized by more prosperity, by upward mobility, by equal opportunity, or we're going to abandon that. Or we're going to get on this other path, the one we're on right now, where more and more people become more dependent upon the government for their livelihoods, where they are drained of their incentive and their will to make the most of their lives, and we become a government, a society, where the government sees its job as equalizing the results of our lives, as pursuing equal outcomes versus equal opportunity. The difference is stark. The difference is we go into managed decline, into managed stagnation. We go into a society where the government has such a profoundly bigger role in our everyday lives in managing our economy. Look, it's not a fixed pie. The world, the economy, America is not a fixed pie where the government has to simply redistribute the slices. We need to grow the pie. We need to grow opportunity. We need to have a system of prosperity where everybody has a chance of reaching their destiny and fulfilling their potential. And you know what? America gets this. The people are way ahead of the political class up here in Washington. They know this. And so while we have a leadership deficit on confronting these issues in the White House, and while we have one in the United States Senate, which for a second year in a row didn't bother to pass a budget, I want you to know that the people you sent to the House take this very seriously. And we've done this in the House. We're going to keep leading in the House. And if we do our jobs right, we will give you that choice you deserve in 2012 so you can decide what kind of country you want to live in this country for the 21st century. Thank you very, very much.